And can you believe it's a new year?
I know, eh?
And I feel like it's been so long that I've seen you. I've seen you in the studio a couple times recently, but welcome back.
Thanks a lot. Yeah. You Dan Alstrand sat in my place.
He did, yeah. We had a guest host for a month or two here while you were off and recovering, and now we're back in January, and I think it's going to be a great season.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to it. Again, Mortgage 101, your guide to home ownership. Clinton Wilkins, myself, Todd Vino. For those of you tuning in or listening online and they don't know Clinton, tell everybody a bit about yourself.
I'm a mortgage broker. I've been a mortgage broker for almost 20 years. It seems like forever to me.
Yeah, and you wrote a book too.
And I wrote a book about mortgage lending.
Yeah.
That is accurate. I have an office in Dartmouth and an office in Halifax, and we've done a lot of transactions. Almost 6,000 transactions in my career that I've been a part of, which is amazing. And every day I say that, we've seen everything, but every day we see something new. And we're really passionate about education. We're passionate about financial literacy. And we started out doing this show, I think, when?
6 years ago.
7 years ago.
Yeah.
And originally it was going to be one season. And here we are. There's just so much to talk about, and even more lately about mortgage lending. There's been so many changes from the federal level around the economy, the Bank of Canada, and we've just continue the conversation. But you know what I think is really exciting, Todd?
Yeah.
Well, I think we've broken down a lot of barriers. I think people are shy and they don't want to talk about their finances, but I think we've helped had some of the, encourage people to have these conversations at the dinner table.
Yeah, and of course, some people, I should say, have a misconception that if you're buying a $750,000 house or $1 million house, that you've got all kinds of money and it's not an issue. That's not the case. Everybody's on a budget.
More money, more problems.
Yeah,
sometimes.
everybody's on a budget, right?
This
and
is
I'm
true.
sure you see this all the time, right?
And even from an income perspective,
Yeah.
We see this echelon as, okay, you're making six figures. Oh, well, if you're making six figures, you must have tons and tons of money.
Yeah.
It's not what you make. It's really what you spend. And there really is a lot of lifestyle creep, and that's real. It's a real thing.
Yeah, and not only that, but inflation is a part of the conversation as well, right?
Definitely. And I can tell you that the money that we were making here 5 years ago, Todd, is a lot different than the money that we're making here today.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people forget that. And when their mortgages come up for renewal, and we were talking about the renewal cliff, and 60% of Canadians have their mortgage coming up for renewal. Not everyone's finances are in the best place. Mm-hmm. And that's really the theme of our show today. We're going to be talking about Merry Debtmas, or talk about it every January. And I read something the other day that the number one thing that people made New Year's resolutions about this year was financial health and wellness.
Yeah, absolutely. And getting real with your finances, that's a big key. You've talked about this. I mean, opening the mail, I don't know if people open the mail anymore, but open your emails. Call or check on and see what your transactions are.
Definitely.
Have an idea what's going on with your credit, because this is all important, because today in this day and age, security and your data can be compromised.
Definitely. And I think also you need to have a fallback plan.
Yeah.
Your fallback plan can't always be credit cards or lines of credit. You need to have some cash in the bank. And right now in this in inflation environment, cash is really king. And I think people and Canadians in general are just so indebted. Mm-hmm. We live in this instant gratification culture.
Yeah. How about you talk about the dream of home ownership? That's true. That's when you look at your trajectory of your life and you're young, that's often almost always on the list. Not always, but often it's on the list.
It's get married, buy a house, have a kid.
Right. And there's a lot of frustration now, particularly among younger people. Mm-hmm. And not just younger people, that dream it seems unobtainable. Is it unobtainable?
I think for some people it is.
Yeah.
I always say homeownership is available to everyone. It is, but you need to make some sacrifices sometimes. And the problem is, I think with the culture right now, we don't want to sacrifice.
Yeah.
I want everything now. I want to live in downtown Halifax. I want to have my $1 million place. I don't want to scrimp. I don't want to necessarily save. I don't want to sacrifice. But home ownership is, a privilege. It's not necessarily a right.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that you need to do to be able to achieve that. Mm-hmm. It's not just something where you can be handed it in many cases.
Yeah.
And most Canadians that are buying a home need to get a mortgage.
Yeah.
And, to really get a mortgage, you need to have income, you need to have credit, and you need to have assets. And if one of those is lacking, it's going to be more challenging and likely more costly.
Yeah, you talk about six-figure, and people, like you said, that one time, if you had a six-figure income in a household, you were in like Flynn. That's not the case anymore because of, like we're talking about inflation. But do you think that people's mindset is adjusted with that? Do people still kind of spend beyond their means because they think, hey, I'm making $105,000 a year and spend too much money based on the old ideology?
I think everything's become more expensive, and I think we're almost numb to it. Like I had a friend the other day had a problem with her car, and she took it in, and it was $600. I'm like, oh my God, you got off easy, $600. That's nothing.
Yeah.
But $600 is actually a lot of money, and it's a lot of money to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I think we're just so numb to it now. Yeah. Everything costs a lot more than it used to, and it's kind of the new norm. The thing is, the incomes have not paced, Todd. So we need to be more and more planful and cautious when we're making purchases, when we're going in debt, because we need to have a plan to be able to pay it back. We need to have a plan to live. We need to have a plan for retirement. And that's why January is so interesting. You know, I love the first of the month. I love the first of the week. I love the first of the year. You know, having a fresh start, I think, is really important, and we're going to talk a lot about that during this show.
Yeah, for sure. And look, as far as obtaining that dream, if it's something that you want, you need to be methodical and take those steps. And this is part of what we're going to talk about today, right?
And you need a plan.
You need a plan.
You need a plan. You can't just go footloose and fancy free.
Yeah.
You know, I like that. I like to have an easy life. But if you want something, you really need to work for it and you need to plan. And, you know, it's challenging for a lot of people. There is some positive news, though.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the news in the next segment.
For sure, we will.
About what the government's done. And, of course, there's a state of flux with the government right now, and we'll get into the politics of that. Not to get apolitical or too political about it, but it's part of the process, right?
It's reality.
Yeah. And you as a mortgage broker, I'm sure that you have these conversations with your clients all the time, right?
Yeah, we have these same type of conversations all the time. And it really starts with a plan, especially if you want to buy a home or if you want to do a refinance or if you want to do a transfer from lender to lender. It involves a little bit of work.
Yeah, and financial planning. In TFSA's example, using things like maximizing TFSAs, huge when it comes to this, right?
Well, when we're thinking about things like a first home savings account, every year it resets. So if you were fortunate enough and, you know, planful enough, if you're planning on buying a home and you put some money in at the end of last year, which was only a few days ago, you can then put more money in this year, which is right now. So if anything, that's a great vehicle if you're looking to buy a home, the first home savings account. And a lot of people don't know about it. So that's something really great to look into.
That's tax sheltered, is it? I'm assuming?
It is. It's very similar to what like a TFSA would be or an RRSP, but there's some tax benefit. And obviously, RRSP is a great program, and they've really increased the amount that you can borrow from your RRSP. And if there's two borrowers, both can borrow from the RRSP, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And you know, TFSA, they it's $7,000 you can put in this year.
Every year.
And
it's retroactive.
It's retro,
right?
exactly. So if you haven't never contributed, you have, I think, 81 or 87,000. Well, I'll check by the break and I'll come back to you. But you have over $80,000 that you can contribute into a TFSA. Which is awesome.
And just quickly, we've got a guest coming up. So tee up the guest.
Yeah, we have Tina Powell coming in. She's from MMP, and she's going to talk to us about what happens if you're having some, you know, financial problems. You know, we're going to talk, you know, obviously in the next segment more about refinance and what's going on in the news. But Tina will be back with us here at the back half of our show. If you've liked what you've heard and you want to learn more, feel free to visit us online at teamclinton.ca.